Hi, and welcome back to the HSP Connection with me, Philippa Robinson.
And me, Robbie Lee. This is where we share our stories, insights, and strategies to help fellow highly sensitive people navigate their own path to living a fulfilling and meaningful life. So, Philippa, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about play today. And that's funny because I've just fluffed up the intro to this twice. So I feel like I'm already in the play zone. So we've already had a bit of a laugh at me completely messing that up, which I just think is very fitting for what we're here to talk about today. And I want to talk about play because I'm not very good at it. And I think it's something I'm really having to spend time like learning how to play again. And I'm I'm hoping I'm not alone. I don't think I'm alone. And yeah, I think it's really important because we play when we're children. We just play naturally. We just know what we enjoy doing and we like to play. Play, gosh, play helps us with all our motor skills. Play helps us with connection. Play helps us with language. Play helps us, just, I don't know, living in the moment. Play helps us with so many things. And as part of my therapy that I started after my breakdown in 2017, I really realized during that time that I don't play. And that actually made sense to me, or helped me make sense of why I wasn't particularly good at playing with my children when they were little. And by playing, I mean taking time to sit down and build blocks and do puzzles and I don't know, just play for the sake of playing. Certainly I was not very good at doing anything that was messy. That was, no way, no way. And I'm not saying I never did puzzles. I'm not saying I never did any of those, but I didn't particularly enjoy it. And I kind of had to force myself to do it.
You had to force play?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it feel like play when you forced it?
I think that's such a good question. I didn't feel like it was play. No, I felt like it was, oh God, I've got so many other things to do.
Yes.
Why can't they just entertain themselves? Why do I have to be involved with this? So I think it was uncomfortable to me on so many levels. I think it was uncomfortable because I didn't get it. It was not, I don't remember that happening during my childhood. I didn't get it. So yeah, the spending the time and doing that, I didn't understand. There was almost always so many other things to do, and I was too busy trying to do those. Too busy trying to do all the things and look perfect, and I think now there was perhaps an element of discomfort as well from within, because I didn't play with my inner child either. So she's a bit like, hang on a minute, what about me? So I think that whole play thing, with especially with my children, was affecting me or getting to me on so many different levels.
Yeah. Oh.
That's not quite what you expect. In fact, I didn't know you were going to ask me that question, and I didn't know that was going to be my answer, but that's definitely what feels true.
Well, I know you're not alone in that. I mean, yeah. I feel like, you were talking about as children, like we kind of naturally play until something like gets in the way of that. Like till something starts telling us, and however we receive the message, right? That's not allowed. We don't have space for that or time. And some people play throughout their childhood, but then once adulthood hits, then it's again some messages that we don't have time or we don't have the energy or whatever the things are. But I think for a lot of us, like at some point in our journey, our relationship to play has been diminished. Like, because I remember I loved playing as a kid, but certain kinds of play, like, um, I mean, you mentioned puzzles and my my inner child was like, "Yes!" Like, loved puzzles since I was, like, 2, honestly. Puzzles are great for me, but also, like, running around with my cousins in s in, like, a hide and seek kind of game, something like that, or we called it sardines, which is kind of opposite hide and seek. Anyway, but those were fun for me, but organized sports where it was like softball or football for you guys, soccer for us, those types of things were less fun for me, probably because I wasn't good at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, when there's a lot of people and strategy is involved, that was hard for me. Things like tennis and badminton, I was okay enough to have fun, but if it was like something was really on the line, like it was important to win, I was like, yeah, that's not fun for me. Card games were really big with my cousins and I. We loved that. So those types of things were fun. And as I got older, I think it was just like, well, who am I going to play games with? Because I wasn't location wise, I wasn't physically close to my cousins anymore. And they were kind of like my pals, they were my play gang.
Yeah.
Um, so then as an adult trying to find someone to play with, it's like, well, I don't think we don't have a lot of structures for that in place unless it's more of the organized sports, right? You can join like adult leagues for softball and soccer and those things, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. So it's been more challenging. And my spouse and I play sometimes, but not as often as I would like. But as you're talking about play, I think, oh, I don't prioritize it at all. Like no prioritization of that. And so it's really making me think about it. Thank you for bringing this topic.
Oh, well, that's great. And I think um I think you talking about sports there, and I was always dreadful at sport, so I didn't
Same.
enjoy any of that. I was always the last one to be picked. I was all right actually at what we'd call primary school, so up till
Yeah.
your year 5, I think,
Uh-huh.
or 5th grade. I'm getting there with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You
I
got
was
it.
I wasn't too bad then. I was quite tall for my age at that stage. So that's sort, and then when I just everybody else grew and caught me up, because I'm not tall at all. I'm just really average now. And yeah, at secondary school, high school, I was just dreadful. I wasn't very good. You weren't encouraged if you weren't very good, and the competitive the more competitive it got, the less I enjoyed it, and the more I shrank away and uh, got out of it as often as I possibly could. And I so that was sport kind of done for me, really. All sport in a way. Yeah, I liked horse riding. I was quite good at horse riding, but that's just me and a horse. So, but yeah, and I didn't really I have 3 brothers. I was the only girl and I had 3 brothers. And I don't know whether this is going to make you laugh, but I've always hated Monopoly because Monopoly goes on for so long. Do you have Monopoly?
We do. Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes on for so long and it gets so competitive.
Yeah.
And I just remember so many arguments over Monopoly that I just can't. I've never been able to stand it ever since. And all the games, the board games and the games you might play as you get a little bit older, just ended up in arguments. So I didn't particularly enjoy those either. So I think all that added up to my inability to understand that play can be fun and is worthwhile in a way.
I mean,
Yeah, no, that's it.
just going to say that makes so much sense because the things associated with play didn't feel good. So,
No,
so yeah, of course you were like, no, this play thing's for the birds, man. This
yeah,
doesn't feel good at all.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm not alone. And I do think that when the competitive edge comes into it and we sort of switch off, that almost I wonder how that translates into a competitive edge around other things as well, because as we get older, and I'm only talking sort of like, you leave childhood, so when you get in your 20s, your 30s, I think that does there become an element of competition there a little bit, even down to, I don't know, something mad like next door's grass is greener than mine, but or their car, they've got a newer car than me. I do think that creeps in a little bit. And I'm not saying that's a result of not being able to play, but this is not a fully formed thought really, but I do think there is some correlation there. Can we just be a little bit more playful? And maybe it's about enjoying life. Maybe more play helps us be lighter and brighter, and then maybe we're not so bothered about the other things, perhaps. Perhaps that's what it's about. I've certainly been quite keen to encourage my children to play. Not with me, obviously, because I don't like it. But now that they're older, one of them still really likes playing Lego. So we've got a house full of Lego, and he still loves playing with Lego. Incredible. They're both gamers. And yes, I know there's a whole argument around you shouldn't let them game for too long and all that. But actually, my two game a lot. They connect with their friends, because that's how they game these days. They connect online and play and play. They play games. It is playing, and that's perhaps the more modern way of playing rather than sitting around a board game. I don't know. But for that reason, I haven't been really strict about the gaming, because it's felt important for me to allow them to do it. I know I have friends who think that it's a waste of time and don't let their children game for anywhere near as long as I allow mine to. And that, that's okay. That's their decision. This is my decision. But bringing play into my adulthood, so now in my 50s, as I love cold water swimming, and there is a real element of play in that for me. I mean, it's great for my nervous system. Yes, it's great to be immersed in water. Yes, I go with a friend, so I get connection there. And, it ticks so many boxes, but there is very definitely an element of play. My inner child loves it when we go in the water. And, my friend who I go swimming with will tell you, the day we went to the marine lake was closed where we normally go, and we drove further and went to the sea, and the waves were really big, and she was watching me from the shore, like, wait for the waves, just as the waves break, and you jump up, like, and for a minute I'd disappear because I'd be going down the back of the wave, and then I'd come up like all smiling, and she said, that was your inner child right there. So that is really wonderful. That's my real happy place, and the place that I play more than anywhere else, actually. What about you?
That's incredible. I mean, as you're talking, what's occurring to me is that there are a lot of things called play, but that they have different energy. Because, like, and here's what I mean. You mentioned video games, and my wife will be playing a game and she's yelling at it and cursing it. And I'm just like, is that fun? That doesn't feel like fun and light. And you know what I mean? Like, it's like she turns it into a job that she has to accomplish, and that's how organized sports always felt for me. It's like, we have to accomplish this thing, and if I mess up, I'm letting other people down. And that didn't feel light and fun for me. So those things aren't play, even though for other people they might be, and it is called playing a game or playing sport. Like, it's plays in the title. For me, like, I'm thinking about with my cousins, we were really competitive, and competition is normally something I don't want anything to do with it. I don't enjoy it generally. But I was like, because we were really competitive. And why did we like it? It's because we were laughing the whole time, whether we lost, in a fantastically huge way, or we won. It was the same amount of joy. It was just the act of being together in the play that was fun for us. So even though we would be like, we're trying so hard to win, couldn't care less if we lost, And so that energy is light for me. And that's what I crave when I think about play. And I think of it when I saw it in my mind's eye, like you with it's like you were playing with the waves, right? You're in the ocean and just like, ooh, and what are we doing next? So that is fun for me. And it explains why sometimes when I've played as an adult, like a game of cards, for example, sometimes it feeds that energy for me and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's because not everybody is on board with this is a lighthearted, fun thing. We're enjoying the experience. Doesn't really matter the outcome. Because those are some of the elements for me that I enjoy that make it fun.
Yeah. Yes. And as you're talking, it really makes me understand that, I don't know, like playing cards can be fun, can be playful or not, depending on the energy around it.
Yes.
And,
exactly.
And like you can play a musical instrument, can't you? And you can do it because you love it and you want to, or you can do it because you're being forced to. I played the cello when I was at school. I loved it for 2 years. And for the next 3 years, I was desperate to not do it anymore. And I was made to do it for much longer than I wanted to. And that was not fun. And that was not playful. And there was no joy in that for me. There were in the first 2 years. So, that's really interesting, isn't it? That it is about the energy around it. What makes it light and joyful and feeds you, feeds your soul, nourishes you. What makes it, something you want to do as opposed to something that you have to do, you should do. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm thinking back again to my childhood, and I was so fortunate that I had access to grandparents, and I had a lot of play with them. I'm thinking about my grandma in particular. Like, she would play cards with me. She taught me how to play different kinds of cards and different games. And it was always just so fun. Like, we always just laughed so much together. And I remember one time she came to visit us and we had a giant snowstorm. It was like 5 feet of snow all at once. The electricity went out. And my grandma is kind of stranded here with us at the house. And I was, I don't know, 5. So I thought this was the best adventure ever. Like, we're crowded around the table with oil lamps on playing cards together. And I just like, how fun is this? I'm sure for the adults, it was potentially a different experience because they had the stress of dealing with the things. But I just think, wow, it's so much fun. And I remember thinking, my mom doesn't like to play. My mom doesn't play with me. And I thought about that a few times growing up. It was never like, God, it wasn't a huge thing, but it was something I noticed and something I wished for sometimes. And now as adults, I just got to go visit my parents and my grandma not very long ago, and we all played together. And it was such again, just a fun, warm, playful, we always laugh. And that's what I love. It's connection. It's lighthearted connection is play for me. Or I think about like if I do solo play, I'm often looking for something that is creative. Like maybe that's when I get my paints out or I'm drawing, or that feels playful to me if I can stay out of perfectionist energy and if I can just enjoy. And like, it's all about that enjoyment, I think, is what I'm processing this as we're taping it, but I think that's a big part for me. Yeah. The joy.
Yeah. And I didn't know you painted.
Well, yes, I put paint on a paper. I sure do.
Well, I suppose you didn't know I played the cello or used to play the cello. So we learn something new about each other every time we record these. And what was the really great thought that I had that has now
it's coming back.
Yeah, it is coming. Oh well. We'll wait for it.
Was it about joy? Was it about
I know what it was. Thank you very much. As HSPs, we process so much more data. We process it really deeply. We are feeling our feelings. We are feeling everything so much deeper.
Yes.
Play is so important, to bring us that lightness and that joy and those moments and those moments of being out of that depth of processing, really, because we just can't be doing that all the time. It's exhausting. And I think it's almost more important for us HSPs to make sure we are having that element of play, because we can really sink into that place of taking everything seriously, because things matter to us. All those great things that come with being an HSP make it almost more important to make sure we are having elements of play, be it whatever you want to call it. Maybe you don't want to call it play. Maybe you would prefer to call it joy. Maybe you would prefer to call it your sport, whatever it is. As long as you're doing it with a light, bright, breezy energy around it, then that's so important, because that is the thing that feeds us and helps us. It's an act of self-care, really, isn't it? Play is an act of self-care.
Oh boy. And now that you've languaged it that way, I'm like, well, guess I got to put it on my priority list.
Gotta get some play.
Yeah. I think you're spot on. It's exactly right. It is. There's something really nourishing about the energy of play as we are defining it, that joy, that lightheartedness, it's a very nourishing energy and needed.
Yeah. And, as we always say about self-care, it's not, a luxury, it's a necessity. So I suppose we are saying you should do this, but with the light, bright energy around it. And you HSPs listening will know what we mean. You will what I just said should, and I try to avoid the should word, but it's so essential to keep us in our best place.
Exactly. And fine, it might be fun to explore the things that give you that kind of energy. Explore the things that feel fun, explore the things that feel playful or have that lightness about them, whether it's solo things or connecty things. Right?
Yeah. Or whether it's sport or creative or whatever it is, it's going to be different for all of us. And it might be a bit of, you might like a bit of sport and you might like a bit of something creative. Yeah. Again, we'd love to know what you choose to play. And I'd really love to, I always want to know, listeners, what you're feeling and thinking and what you're doing after you've heard these episodes. But I would really, really, really love to know if this episode has made you think about something different. And maybe it's got you thinking about what you used to enjoy as a child, and you want to bring an element of that back in now. How can you translate it into your adulthood? And maybe you just bring it directly into your adulthood, whatever that is. And I would really love to know that, because play is definitely a growth edge for me. I am really having to lean into it and work out what it means for me and how do I prioritize it and get enough.
Yes. Ooh. I think it'll be fun for you and I to check in on each other too, like as we're exploring this topic. Like, what are we discovering?
Yeah. How much play are you getting? Yeah. What have you been doing? I think that's a good idea, that we check in with each other.
I think we should.
I think we should. But also,
I would enjoy it.
This is a play for me, doing this with you.
For sure. For me as well.
Because this just brings me, is this fitting our definition of joy? It's definitely light, breezy energy around it. Yes. We definitely bring ourselves, we connect. We don't take it super seriously, because then we wouldn't be enjoying it. That's so there is very definitely an element of play in recording this podcast with you for me.
Yeah, 100%. The act of recording this with you is 100% in my play bucket. The things surrounding it, not.
Yeah.
They, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All the things that we have to do to get it out in the world. That doesn't feel like play. it feels like things to do so that we can serve people, which are great. And I want to do, but it's a different energy, right? But the act of what we're doing right now, the recording of the podcast, is so much fun for me.
Yeah, it is. And it's ticking so many boxes. It's deep, meaningful conversations, but we're having a bit of fun with it, which makes it much more playful.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Well, I think that's enough on play. Do you? Have you got anything else you want to say?
I think we've done it.
Yeah, I think we have. So that's it for this episode on play. Let us know what you're gonna do for play after you've listened to this. We'd love to know. So for now, it's bye from me.
And bye from me.
Thanks for listening to HSP Connection. If you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Also, we'd really appreciate it if you could rate the podcast and share it with anyone you think might be interested. It helps others find us. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a review.
To get in touch with us, you can email us at hspconnectionpodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you with your thoughts and comments on the episodes and any suggestions you have for future topics and guests.
We are both HSP coaches and speakers. And to find out more about Robbie, go to Robbie Lee, that's leigh.com.
And to find out more about Philippa, go to safeandsupported.co.uk. See you next time.